We've got Zach with us here. Zach was one of our recent students for the CBT PE exam. He just took it and he just found out he passed. So Zach was generous enough to have kind of a video call with us so we can kind of learn more about his experience with the new CBT exam. And we can also maybe talk about some of his study strategies as well. So Zach, hi, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. And what industry of engineering are you in again?
Corrosion. I'm actually a corrosion engineer. So nothing that has to do with any of the power CBT or
Wow.
power exam at all, except for the soil resistivity. When you brought that up in live class, I was like, all right, something I recognize.
So a lot of these subjects then you were probably seeing them for the first time then, I guess.
Yeah, first time since college. And actually, yeah, first time period. NEC, I'd never opened that book or seen that book in my life. So
Wow.
yeah, lots of them were first time.
Wow. Great. So tell me a little bit just about taking the PE exam in general with the new CBT format. What'd you think?
You know, when it first got announced that it was going to be CBT instead of open book, I was fortunate enough to not have been one of the ones that had been studying since January or April, since those two exams got canceled. But I still was pretty nervous just because there's so much information, and they released that handbook and it's 74 pages of formulas, and you're like, this is not all of the information that you need. And I think I still felt nervous about it for probably like a month or two after they released that manual. But then I think I just started to realize like there's only so many questions they can really ask you. I get like they can't ask you some obscure question that you have to try to sift through a reference handbook to try to find. So I just really decided I need to like drill down on the basics because that's kind of what I thought they would ask with questions that you could answer with that reference manual. Yeah.
Got it. So tell me, how did it feel when you got your results that you passed? How'd that feel?
My wife was upstairs getting ready for work. I think I went a little crazy. I scared my dog a little bit. It was good. It felt really good. I definitely did not walk out of that testing center thinking I 100% passed. It was a 50-50. I felt like a 50-50. I didn't walk out thinking I failed, but I definitely walked out thinking, I shouldn't have done that on that problem, or I definitely messed that one up. But it was really, really exciting to see that little green box with a pass in it.
Yeah, that's excellent. Congrats again. And did you take it? Was it December 1st or when was your?
I took it on the 7th. 7th of December, which I think was the first. I'm in Montana. I think that was the first time they offered it in Montana was on the 7th. So
yeah,
I think I was the first one in the room. The
really?
first one, I'm going to say I was the first one in my, I don't know if they offered it in another town, but the only town I could go to, I had to drive over to Helena and take it over there, which is not where I live. And yeah, it was good old CBT.
Yeah, you're definitely, I would say, one of the rare guinea pigs, one of the ones that making it for the first time, lived to tell the story, and here you are. So that's amazing. So you said this was your first time taking the PE exam?
It was my first time taking the PE exam. Yep. It was a semi-recent decision that I was going to get my PE and decided. And then right after I had signed up to take it, I think not even a month, they changed it from the pen and paper to the CBT. So first time taking it.
Yeah. And I think that was a surprise and a shock for all of us, myself included.
Oh man.
Coming from the April cancellation, everyone kind of we knew it was a possibility with everything going on with the pandemic, but that was still a surprise getting that email. And then the email wasn't super clear, right?
No.
I wasn't sure which ones were canceled or not. But then, kind of just the reality of like, here we go again. And especially I'm sure for people like you, in your mind, you've got your study schedule, your study strategy. You're probably envisioning yourself sitting down, taking that paper and pencil format. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap. Now CBT, this is a whole different animal I got to prepare for. There's no references, they're going to give us their own reference handbook. And I think at that point, it hadn't even been released yet. So there's just still so many unknowns.
No, I was printing everything off on your website. I was making all these binders and just trying to get everything together. And then it was like, well, I guess I don't really need to do this anymore. Which in all honesty, for people taking the CBT, that should be nice that you don't necessarily have to like have this tote of 12 references. You should feel okay. People watching this feel okay that you're going in there without 12 references. Your fundamentals, then you should be good.
And you're going to be okay. Yeah.
Yep.
How about what were some of the bigger challenges you faced with studying for the new CBT format? And, that can be just the general unknowns about it, or having to switch up kind of your approach, or maybe getting really familiar with that reference handbook in a short amount of time. But yeah, talk to us a little bit about the challenges.
I think getting familiar with that reference handbook was really hard. I had posted on a forum about, I really wanted that reference handbook to just be my best friend. And like, when I saw a problem on the PE exam and I didn't know it, I wanted to be like, oh, that's okay. Like, I can open up the reference handbook and that's where it's at. And that is not, unfortunately, how I feel about that reference handbook when I open it up. But I think just going through that, and you had a class where you went through and kind of discussed all the variables, because they don't necessarily lay out the variables, but just going through that handbook and making sure that you know it kind of front to back. And if there is a problem where you know how to do it, but you can't quite remember that reference handbook is there as a crutch to kind of like push you in the right direction or give you a formula that you might need. But yeah, I don't want to say memorizing was how I like one of the challenges, but I did feel like I had to maybe memorize a little bit more than I would have if I were taking the pen and paper. But I think a lot of that memorization just comes with working problems so many times that you start to remember formulas without having to look them up, and you don't really need them. And then those formulas are probably ones that are in that reference manual. So you have them if you need them. But I think that was my biggest challenge with that reference manual. Yeah, and just getting myself to sit down and work problems constantly for 3 months was also a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Great. And so it sounds like, you talked a little bit too about your focus for overcoming those challenges. How'd you find us? How'd you find our program at electricalpereview.com?
Well, when I decided to sign up to take the PE exam, I knew I needed to take some sort of refresher / class to teach me what I needed to know. And so I think I did a Google, and you guys popped up. I'm fortunate enough to have a company that helped pay for me to take classes and for me to take my exam. And I put together a little spreadsheet with like three different ones. And it was obvious to me right away that I wanted to use you guys. And I think it was obvious to my bosses as well, once they kind of looked through stuff, that your class was definitely going to be the one that would work the best. But yeah, I think it was just a quick Google, found you guys. And then I was fortunate enough too, I think right after I decided to go with you guys, I was on an engineering forum, and you were doing a free, I don't even know if I knew it was you that had the same site, and you were doing a free giveaway for one of your books. And I never win anything. I was like, I'll give it a it turned out I won. And so that solidified it. Look at this, people. He wrote me a personal message, and it's like, what a guy. So I won your book, and then I was like, all right, this is awesome. I mean, it's like a one-on-one tutor.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't get any better.
Yeah, no, that's right. I forgot. And you mentioned that a couple of times. I think it was the engineerboards.com giveaway, where I think you just had to post in the thread, and we automatically just grouped every username into a random name picker. And out of the hundreds and hundreds of people that posted, I want to say we gave away, I think it was 25 or 30.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That's right. I forgot that you were one of the winners. That's awesome. And
it's great to have a hard copy, even though it's a CBT test now. It still was really nice to have that hard copy to work out of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I prefer things hard copy too. I try to buy PDFs because sometimes when I'm working, it's just easy to kind of quick reference things. But the way my mind works, I have to flip through pages so I can tab, index, table of contents, and it's like that doesn't quite map to just the digital version. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you again.
Let's see. I got a call coming. I got to mute that. You were enrolled originally for the October exam, right? So were you one of the students that got put into the extended access program?
I was one of the students that got put into the extended access program, yeah, which was obviously huge because I still needed to study. I mean, I'm glad, I don't want to say I'm glad the October test got canceled, but man, I would have been a little more nervous had I had to take that test in October instead of December. But I did get my access extended, so I was able to keep using the site and keep studying that entire time.
Excellent. And talk a little bit about our program. How well do you think it prepared you for the CBT exam? Now that you've been pretty much through all of the material we have, the on-demand class, our live class, our hard copy, practice exam, I think some of the new CBT content too, we pushed out early. Now that you've had a chance to go through all of it in its entirety, you took the PE exam, you passed. How well would you say you felt our program prepared you?
I would extremely well. I mean, I passed. And as I said earlier, I'm not a power engineer. I'm not someone who does any of that ever. Like, I mean, I haven't done that math for years now. And so enrolling in your guys' class definitely, I mean, it lays everything out for you perfectly. You don't have to like go sifting through the internet trying to find, okay, here's protection. This is what I need to study in protection. Or here's circuits. This is what I need to study in circuits. It lays every single one out for you. You just click on a little tab. It's like, oh, there it is, which was so handy. And it saved a ton of time just being able to, at the end of the workday, be like, okay, today I'm going to drill down on auto transformers, and being able to go in, find auto transformers, read through the notes a little bit, and then take the quiz. Or I don't know, the live classes. Just I was fortunate enough to be able to be part of every single one of those, and those are great. Just those go over all the material, and they really help me, I mean, drill down even more. The subject, it just lays everything out so nicely. I don't really understand how people take it without taking your class. It would be so difficult to have to figure out what you need to study on your own. So yeah, your guys' course, I mean, I don't want to say it's the reason I passed, but it's pretty much the reason that I passed. I definitely don't think I would have passed the first time, or maybe the second time, maybe the third time, but that would have been after I'd enrolled in your class because I'd already failed it 2 times. So
Well, I mean,
yeah,
you're
it was great.
the one that put in all the hard work. So I can't take all the credit, you know.
Yeah.
I know you were putting in the long hours, and, you know, I'd get email questions from you, see you in live class in the chat room asking questions, and see you posting in our discussion board too. So, I mean, you're definitely the one that put in the effort. So I can't take all the credit, but no, that's great.
You take a lot of it.
Glad to hear that it helped. How about this? What are some of the subjects that you had the most difficulty learning? So when you were, you know, before you took the PE exam, when you were just kind of sitting down, and especially since, you know, you're a corrosion engineer, so a lot of this stuff you're probably learning for the first time. What were some of the subjects that you found really challenging?
Rotating machines. For some reason, I had a really hard time with rotating machines. I eventually, I just kept watching your lectures, and then I found your 2-hour one on YouTube that you posted. And I think I would listen to lectures in my ear just while I was doing chores around the house, just to like pick up like small tidbits of information. I think I listened to that one like 4 times. So yeah, rotating machines was tough for me. Engineering economics. For some reason, I felt like I would start to get it, and then I would do a problem, and I don't know how to do that. Well, like I said, it's nice because when you have problems with these, you just jump on and go read and do some practice quizzes and just real more problems. But I think those were the two biggest areas. NEC was never good for me. But now I don't know. Just everybody get yourself a PDF copy and just practice the NEC. I mean, it's huge. I think it ended up being one of my stronger subjects, though, in the actual exam. I felt really good about all the NEC questions when I was answering things. So NEC, yeah, I think those are probably the main ones that I had problems with.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone in that sense. I found that rotating machines, especially for engineers that, you know, engineers in all sorts of different industries have to take the PE exam for their license. So especially for engineers that don't have a lot of hands-on experience with machines, there's just so much theory that goes into it.
Yeah.
And the level of qualitative questions. I mean, you can ask anything about a motor. It goes very deep. In my opinion, I think qualitative wise, rotating machines is probably the most difficult subject, because again, it's a subject that's as deep as it is wide. So you kind of have to cover all of your bases. And again, for engineers that don't work with them on a day-to-day, sometimes it can be really hard to visualize, okay, what's actually happening in that stator? How is that magnetic field being set up? You know, there's an air gap between the rotor is literally just spinning along, trying to catch up with the stator. And it's really hard to kind of piece that visualization together, because we can't see it. Just like we can't see current flowing, we can't see power. We can't see these rotating magnetic poles that are flying around at, 60 times a second, so yeah, it's tough. And it's also really hard, I found, for rotating machines. Some of the quantitative questions aren't too bad, but again, when you're trying to really piece together, okay, I'm solving for this variable, but where does that variable actually exist? What part of this magic black box, right? This motor that I don't know a whole lot about, where does this value actually occur? Where does it exist in real life? So
Yeah.
that's a tough one. Engineering economics is, it's definitely a challenge because that's the only subject on the PE exam that has nothing to do with anything else. Nothing to do with anything else. Most engineers aren't big finance guys, so I think the challenge there too is with the different interest rates, nominal interest rate, effective interest rate, annual effective. That can definitely be a challenge. And one of the dangers of engineering economics, in my opinion, is that a lot of people, they get focused on it and they zero in on it because they feel uncomfortable. So they don't want to feel uncomfortable. They want to get better at it. They don't want to be scared when they see an engineering economics problem, but then they end up spending just so much time on this one itty bitty little subchapter. And, you could see a handful of on the PE exam. It's not likely, but if you look at the number of approximate questions on the specs, I mean, if you average that out, you could guess, maybe a couple of them. But to spend, months and months on this one topic at the expense of, all the fundamentals that are going to appear throughout, machines, transformers, fault current analysis, that kind of stuff, it's a trap, it's a trap. I almost, my coaching methodology is always to say, hey, it's okay to get a couple of questions wrong in areas that you're not good at, as long as you're focusing on areas where you're going to get the biggest chunk of the pie, especially power fundamentals, circuit analysis fundamentals. I mean, that really just spreads across all of the major subjects. And, as long as you're getting the bulk of the problems right, you can kind of think of those real tough ones as like sacrificial questions. I'm not going to spend months out of my study time just to focus and answer these 3 questions right at the expense of, 20 or 30 that could end up being the difference in passing. So a lot of people, I hear that time and time again, rotating machines and engineering economics, and just the NEC, because the NEC, it's a big code book, it's hard to read, and sometimes it's hard to get that definitive answer. Let's see what else. How about, so let's flip that around. When you were studying, what were some of your easiest subjects, or what were the subjects you just liked the best?
I felt great on auto transformers. I don't know, felt good about those. And then kind of most things power. I just did so many problems with like delta Y delta, and just single phase, just turn everything to single phase. Just doing so many of those problems that eventually I just felt really good about those. And I mean, there's certain problems on the exam where you're just like, I want one of those problems. Like, give me some power, give me lots of power problems, give me lots of delta Y. And that I definitely felt that way about that subject matter. I'm trying to think of other ones. That's definitely one of the main ones. And then, like I said, soil resistivity. Come on, I want lots of soil resistivity problems. Such a small subject, but it's something that I do all the time. But some of the application stuff, I enjoyed the lighting stuff. I don't know why. I liked lighting. I did not like the nomenclature associated with lighting. I find it a little bit confusing, but I don't know. I enjoyed lighting. That's like a in the middle subject for me. I didn't feel great about it, but I didn't feel bad about it. But for some reason, I kind of enjoyed it. So
you got lumens, lux.
Yep. Oh my gosh, so many L words.
It's like another language.
It is like another language, and another one that it's easy to just get sucked into and like start reading all those different terms and
Sure. How about so now that you passed the PE exam, if you could go back in time, is there anything you wish you knew in advance now that it's all said and done with?
I think just not get hung up on stuff like you were talking about. You could be studying engineering economics and you can get hung up on that and you can spend way too much time on it. I mean, there was every once in a while where I'd be sitting there studying a problem and then I'd realize I'd been trying to figure out that problem for 3 hours. I just wasted 3 hours of my time on a silly problem that I probably won't see on the exam. So probably just telling myself to not get hung up on those problems and just really focus on the fundamentals, the bullet points that the NCEES states that it's gonna test you on. Just really drill down on those, and I think I ended up doing that. And I credit that's partially why I think I passed, is because I didn't let myself get sucked down too many rabbit holes. I mostly just made sure that I really knew how to to solve the basic problems.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, all great points. What about, how was the pressure when you were studying? What was the pressure like?
Oh, yeah, well, it was good once the October exam got canceled and I still had another another few
Let you
months
breathe
to
a little bit.
study. uh, the pressure was good. I mean, I worked a lot of problems, and so I didn't feel too much pressure by the time it had rolled around. By the time December had rolled around, I don't even know how many months I was studying, but I was just ready to take it and ready to see if I would be able to pass it. So by the time it rolled around, I felt good and working, sitting at home studying. I just was getting, I think, burnt out just working so many problems. I wouldn't necessarily say I felt too much pressure after the October one got canceled. So I felt a little pressure thinking about it around October. I think it was supposed to be the 8th or something. I was like, man, I would not feel good right now if I was walking in, I'm not quite ready. But then I really drilled down for October and November. And the pressure kind of went away and I was just ready to get it over with, get in there and take the test.
Cool. Kind of like the moment of truth, huh?
Yeah, that's how I felt walking in there. It's like, all right, here we go. This is what I've been studying for the past 4 months or 3 months.
Cool. So how about this? What would you tell an engineer that's getting ready to take the PE exam? If they're considering enrolling in an online prep service like we provide, whether or not they're considering enrolling in ours or a different one, what piece of advice, or how about, what would you have liked to have been told by someone else that also went through an online study program that helped them?
I mean, I knew I was signing up for a course, but I would hope someone would just tell me, like, sign up for electrical PE review. Yeah, I mean, you only want to have to take this test one time. You don't want to have to take this. I read on forums sometimes and people are like, this is my 4th time taking this. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is so painful to read. How have you taken this 2, 3, 4 times? Just sign up for Zach's course so you only have to take it one time. And then you got to put in the hours. I mean, I think my wife said I was probably doing like 2 or 3 hours each night just sitting there solving problems. Looking back, it doesn't feel like I was doing that, but I definitely was. And then on weekends, I was sitting there taking those 8-hour practice exams. I mean, I took your exam 3 times for full 8 hours, or no, 2 times full 8 hours. I took the NCES 2 times for full 8 hours. I took another one. I mean, you just got to be willing to sit there for 8 hours, because I mean, during that CBT exam, it gets uncomfortable. 8 hours is a long time to sit there. So yeah, just practice problems. Just sign up for a course so you only have to take it one time.
Yeah.
Please. And also, yeah, don't be afraid, ask your company. Maybe they'll help you pay for it, but just sign up. Even if they don't, it is worth the money. I mean, just you only have to take it one time. Sign up for a course, please.
Save yourself the headache and the pain. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Having to take it time and time and time again, it's so difficult. And after that, I think it becomes more of a mental game, because just getting that result over and over and over that you didn't pass, it's a really tough kind of mental barrier to get over. And it's so discouraging. How about, how'd you like our live class program?
It was great. I thought it was kind of a fun community to be able, you see the same people kind of pop on each week and say, hey, I'm here. And then just having you work through problems like in a live aspect is great. It's nice to be able to ask questions and have you answer them while going through it. And I mean, yeah, your guys' adaptation to switch from the pen and paper exam to the CBT was impressive. It was hard enough for us, but to like have to change your whole course, that would have been brutal. But no, the live classes were good. The homework problems were really useful to work those and then come in and see like 4 different ways to solve each one. When I had a hard time with those homework problems, the hard problems.
That's intentional.
Yep. But no, the live classes were awesome. And it's a great way to like force you to sit down for what's supposed to be 2 hours, but never was 2 hours.
Yeah, sometimes.
Force you to sit there and learn the material that you need to learn. And also for you just to remind us each live class, like, hey, we did this in live class, but now you need need to go out and you need to do more practice problems and you need to keep working problems away from the live class. But it was a great addition to my studying for sure.
Excellent. How'd you like the rest of the community? How'd you like the rest of your classmates?
It was good. It was fun in the live discussion board. It took me a little while to get more involved with like asking problems. I think at first I mean, had no idea about any of this material, so it was just me working through it. But then to be able to post questions on there, say, hey, how do you do this? Or why is this done this way? Or I mean, it's just a good support system. And just helping. It's when you get to the point where you've been studying long enough, you can be like, oh, I know the answer to that question. I'm going to go ahead and type that up. It's really helpful. And it also, I mean, obviously never been a teacher, but it's really hard to like get out in words in an or in a forum how to explain how to do things, which is also really helpful to be able to type that out, and it really ingrains it in your brain when you're trying to help someone else out and you're having to type out the formulas like, yeah, you do this and this. It was really good. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. It's for me, it's always fun. Obviously live class, we end up putting in a lot of hours, but I always like to watch from the beginning, especially like our first live class, just the intro class, kind of meet and greet, get to know everybody. This is how we use the live class software. Did everyone get the calendar, the schedule, the syllabus? Everyone's very proper in the live class chat room. Everyone's very formal, and
Yeah.
Usually around the third or fourth live class, all the unique personalities start to come out, and it's a lot of fun. Every semester, there's all sorts of different inside jokes that just propagates and grows and grows. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the discussion board too. I like what you said about really taking the time to try to kind of explain it in another way for someone to understand it. I think a lot of engineers, when they're studying, they overlook that as a great way to learn the material. Because it really takes it takes some thought to kind of categorize and rearrange what you're trying to explain in just a very linear, here's a sentence online, I'm posting on the discussion board. And when you take the time to do that, it really ingrains it and it really helps people retain it. I definitely saw you participating quite a bit in the live class discussion board and the live class. It was a lot of fun. So that's about it. Is there anything else you can think of or anything else you want to share? Or, if you could talk to yourself, a year or two ago before you were getting ready to take the exam, or, more about the CBT exam, or really anything you'd like to add, and I'd be all ears.
Yeah. I would just tell people to not be scared of the CBT exam. Like,
Definitely.
They should embrace the fact that you don't have to have all those reference materials. And yeah, they might throw a random obscure question at you that you maybe would have needed to look up, but all the other questions are going to be ones that you should know because you've been number one in Zach's course, and number two because you've been studying your fundamentals and you already know it. So the only thing that's changed is you just have to click your mouse now instead of like writing it out, and not that much has changed. So I would just tell people to not be afraid of it. And to just practice sitting there. I think most engineers these days now are used to staring at a computer screen for 8 hours a day, but practice sitting there for 8 hours and looking at a computer screen and solving problems, and using an NEC in a PDF format, I think is like fundamental. You need to do that. It might be expensive to buy, but it is so important to be able to use those quick links and get to things fast and look things up. But yeah, just embrace the CBT and be excited that you don't have to carry a bunch of books around, and they can't ask you the whole test can't be these obscure questions. It's going to be fundamentals. So yeah, just be happy about that. And if you pass the first time, you don't have to take it again. You only have to take it one time. So just enroll in a class that's going to lay things out for you and that's going to help you pass that first time. And also I was the first one in the room taking the CBT exam. I sit down and I'm taking it, and I took a lunch break, and there was definitely other people in there taking the power exam. And when I stood up at 8 hours, I finished. I was like, okay, that was terrible, but here we go. I finished it and I stood up. There was no one else in the room. When you take the exam, do not leave early. You have 8 hours to sit there. I don't care if you finish in 2 hours, just sit there and rework all the problems or look through the NEC. It blew my mind. I was like, how are people gone right now? Why am I the only one in here? Just really spend the time, suffer for the 8 hours just one time. So you only have to do it one time. I saw a post on another forum where someone mentioned that they finished the first half of the test in 2.5 hours and the second half in, I don't know what they said, an hour and a half. And then they didn't pass. I was like, well, work the problems again. But yeah, just study so you only have to take it one time. Just, it's terrible and you have to study a lot, but just do it so you only have to take it one time. And then you're done.
Yeah, and then once you have it, all you have to worry about is your continuing education credits, which is a little different by each state. But once you have it, as long as you do something or you don't do something you shouldn't do, right? As long as you use it correctly, I mean, it's pretty much yours for life. So yeah,
Yep.
Great advice, Zach. Excellent.
Yeah,
Well,
I just can't push your course enough because it really does. It lays everything out. I mean, Zach is not paying me to say any of this. He's not. Like, I'm not getting any electrical PE review swag. I did get a free book, but he didn't say, "Oh, you got to give me a good review." I'm telling you, it lays everything out so nicely. You don't have to figure it out. You know what you need to study, and he has got all the practice problems for you. And he's developing in the middle of class. He started developing an AIT test. So then we have this practice exam to work and also an AIT exam that is very similar to the CBT exam. So they're constantly adapting. They're going to make your lives easy. They're going to make you pass the first time. Just enroll in the online class. It is extremely helpful, and I am very grateful to have done it because now I don't have to take the test a second time, and I do not have to study through Christmas because that's what I would have been doing, is studying through Christmas so I could retake the exam in January. So yeah, I'm very grateful to you guys for jumping in the middle of the pen and paper being like, well, that's not there anymore. We're doing the CBT and changing everything. Yeah, it's helping me pass. So thank you guys.
No, thank you. And I'm sure your wife is also very happy. You have all this free time now, right, to spend? So.
She is very happy. Yep. Excellent. Very happy.
Excellent. Well, hey, Zach, thanks again for having this short call with me. Congratulations. I know it goes without saying, I'm sure you're still celebrating, but continue to celebrate. Well-deserved. Thanks for being a student in our online program this past semester. And yeah, we really enjoyed having you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Zach.